Today I want to talk to you a little bit about fertilizers. And honestly, you guys, this is such a rabbit hole to go down. You can go absolutely insane with all the different things that you can use for fertilizing your plants and your garden. And you'll get so overwhelmed that you'll go, oh, forget it. Just don't want to do this anymore. So I just want to see if I can simplify it a little bit for you. When you go to get fertilizer, if it's truly organic, which is the kind that we want you to try to use is organic, it's better for the soil, it's better for the environment. It's a much slower acting type of fertilizer, so it's not going to leach out and get into our groundwater and cause potential problems anywhere else. So, promoting organic, it has to say OMRI on it if it's truly organic, and that stands for the Organic Materials Research Institute. And if it doesn't say that on it, then it's not classified as pure organic. Don't get really in a twist about that, because the rules for that are so tight that if you want to claim that your chicken manure is completely organic, you actually have to let them know what those chickens ate. And sometimes that's just not feasible. So you can have an organic product, but it's just not certified, okay? So don't get too anxious over it. When you pick it up, you're going to find 3 numbers on the box as a rule. I'm going to show you this one, and it says, this is a specialty fertilizer for potatoes. I just grabbed it just to show you guys what it's about. It has 6-20-20. The first number is always going to be nitrogen. That's for your green leafy growth, okay? With potato, it's got a 6. Because seriously, do you want lots and lots of green leaves on a potato? No, you want the tubers, you want potatoes. So the middle number is your phosphorus, and that's the number that gets you lots of good strong roots. It gets you your seeds, your flowers, your fruits. So that's the middle one. And the third number is potassium. And that one, you guys, is for the plant's overall health. It helps for the water uptake, the nutrient uptake, and it helps prevent disease with your plants. It just helps keep them stronger, okay? So for a potato, you want 6-20-20 because you want lots of tubers and you want a good uptake of water and nutrients. This is what it looks like out of the box. It's just a granular. Also, when you're using these and putting them in your garden, please wear gloves. Some people have reactions to the different things in the products, and some of them are very dusty, and although they're not really harmful, breathing it in is a whole different effect on your lungs, and if you get it in your eyes, it's going to drive you crazy too. So always take care when you're adding fertilizers. Anyway, this is a granular one, so you would mix it in with the soil prior to the top 4 inches of soil prior to planting your potatoes, and then you'd water it in really well, and then maybe about a month and a half down the road, you would do what they call side dress, and that's where you go beside your potatoes and you would make a little row and you would apply the fertilizer and then just cover it up with an inch or 2 of soil and water it in. Easy peasy. So if you've got your potatoes in and you don't have potato fertilizer and you think you want to try it, you can still side dress. This one is a bone meal. Now it's really high in phosphorus. The numbers 4-10-0, which means you're going to get some green growth, but you're going to get a lot stronger bulbs, roots, flowers, but it doesn't really have anything in there that's going to help the plant protect itself against disease. But it is really handy to put in. Typically, bone meal takes about 3 months before it can break down enough in the soil to actually be good for your plants. It looks like this. And it's actually quite stinky, you guys. But again, that's another one. Wear a mask, eye protection, gloves. And this is a product, I hadn't seen this one before, but this is pelleted chicken manure. Now chicken manure is really good to add to your garden. It's a good overall fertilizer. And it also helps your soil. It helps the tilth in it. It adds more benefits. Pelleted just means they've taken out about 76% of the moisture, so it's a lot easier to work with. And these ones, some of them have got some extra additives in it. Chicken manure has calcium in it, so it's really good for your tomatoes. This one is a seaweed extract. Now you can get seaweed granular or you can get it in the liquids. And it's a 1, 2, and a 5, which means it's going to really help your plants for disease resistance, okay? And if there's things like green sand that you can add, but it's a non-renewable resource, which is why they say use your seaweed. It works just as well. Sometimes it acts a little faster than what your green sand would. You can get your phosphates, your rock phosphates and stuff. So like I said, there's all kinds of different things that you can get to put in your soils. And if you get overwhelmed, go find a brand like this one. Not the only end-all be-all that's out there, but this one has everything already mixed and it's all in the right proportions, and it's a 4-4-4. So it's going to be a real general purpose. You're going to get enough for green growth, you're going to get enough for your fruits and roots, and you're going to get enough for the overall health, okay? Also, you will find if you're looking at synthetic as opposed to organic, the numbers on synthetics are a lot higher. You're going to find, instead of a 4-4-4, you might find a 20-20-20. They're still going to work the same. These just take a little bit longer to break down, but they are much more, they're just better for the environment. The plants can utilize them a little easier. And it's a good thing. If you really want to get into it, if you've just got a home garden, I would just stick with these easy peasy guys. But if you have a large garden or a market-sized garden, you might want to just do a soil test first, just to find out what you actually do need. And this is an excellent book for telling you all about the different things. It was fun reading it because he's one of those guys that he was really naive when he started, and he knew he had to fertilize his crops. And that's when the fertilizer from the big companies were coming out, and everybody was going, well, you got to use this, and you got to use that, and you got to use this. And he went on a site and they said, nitrogen is nitrogen is nitrogen. Phosphorus is phosphorus is phosphorus. Doesn't matter where it comes from, it all works the same. So he went, oh great, because there were farmers that had horses in the area, and they were saying to people, come and get it, it's free, I'll deliver it if you want to take it. So he did. And then there were just a bunch of things, options for him like that, and he really utilized it, and it worked out really, really well for him. And he said that the old farmers were coming to him because he's the new kid on the block. How come your gardens are so great? How come your stuff is so lush? How come you're not having any of these pest problems? And he said, well, I don't know, I just use this. So it just shows you that organic can be the way to go. And I just really like the book. And anyway, you guys, that's about it. I hope I didn't, oh, you know what? I did forget. Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. Also, with those numbers, the 6-20-20, that refers to the volume. So it's 6% volume, 20% volume, 20% volume in this box. The rest of it are other smaller amounts of nutrients and filler. Okay, so that's what that means. It's just the percentage that you're going to get in the container. With the local manures or the local fertilizers, if you can get your hands on them, there is horse manure, but please make sure that it's been well rotted, composted for at least a year. Horses munch on all sorts of vegetation, but they only have one stomach, so a lot of times you'll get seeds from it. And if you put fresh manure on your gardens, a lot of times the ammonia in it is so strong that you're going to burn your plants. So make sure it's well composted. Cow manure, maybe 6 months of composting, you get a much lower chance of having seeds in it because they've got, what, 5 stomachs? So that stuff gets worked out pretty good by the time it comes out the productive end. And then there is sheep manure. Apparently that is absolutely dynamite for your gardens. My favorite is rabbit poop. You can get rabbit poop. If you've got neighbors that have got pet rabbits, get the remains. I mean, this stuff is absolutely brilliant, and it's one of the few manures that you can actually add into your garden right away. It's not going to burn, and it's got all sorts of nutrients in it. And one of the other things is something called worm castings. And I know everybody's probably heard of worm castings. Kids call it worm poop. It's absolutely lovely. It's produced all over the place from worms. It's really light, it's really fluffy. A really good idea if you're planting transplants is to dig the hole, put in a handful of your worm castings and maybe a little bit of 444 fertilizer, mix it up and then pop in your transplant and you're good to go. Other than that, there are also a couple of books that I thought you might be interested in, as well as Elliot Coleman's New Organic Grower. But these are two that are done by Linda Gilkinson. They're older ones. I don't actually know if she's got any new ones in. But with the way the climate's changing, it's really, really good. She's got the resilient garden. So she's talking about the higher temperatures, less rain, more rain, all these different things that we're having to deal with that we never had to deal with before. And this one is a lot on garlic diseases. She's got a pest update in there, how to have a pollinator garden. Lots of brilliant information in these two books too. So, having said that, I hope you guys have a good summer growing. Hi, it's Candice with Grow Local. Little tiny tidbit on basil. I know everybody, or almost everybody, absolutely loves basil and they want it to grow really healthy and they want it to grow really well. Did you know you can get more bang for your buck with your basil? Because when it grows with two leaves opposite each other. And it continues to grow that way. But when it gets 4 sets of leaves, all of a sudden it decides, oh, nope, I've got enough leaves. It's time for me to start producing flowers, like this one's got. This is an African blue basil. And the weather in the greenhouse has been absolutely lovely, so it's going, I've grown enough. Time for me to make flowers and start the next generation. But you don't want to do that. So what you do is you go back down to the last set of, oh, I needed pruners for this, you guys. Sorry, it's going to be more of a tear. But you pinch it off, okay? You can use the flowers in your cooking. You can use them in your salads. You can use all these guys. Or you can pinch the flower off. You've got that little bit left. And you can put it in a little pot of water. I did that with these guys. I pinched it off above my set of leaves. And when I've done that, this stem is going to branch out into 2 more stems and it's going to start making more leaves. If you continue to do that, a lot of times you can get 20 liters of loose packed basil leaves. So that's a heck of a lot of leaves. But what I'm going to do with this one is pinch it off. I don't need a whole lot of leaves. It's going to be too much for this little tiny stem to support. But you can put it in a little pot of water, like my little root cup here, and it's going to get roots. And they're lovely, and they're long. And I'm going to plant it up, and now I've got another basil plant. So if you want, and it's early enough in the season, for me, it's been a crazy, and I'm sure with you, it's been a crazy, cool spring. It's not ready to go outside yet. So they're getting kind of leggy. So all I've been doing is pinching them back, potting them up, and I'm going to have a whole lot of little plant babies that I can put out in the garden when it gets warmer. So again, every time you pinch it, you're going to start getting 2 new branches coming off, and that's going to give you way more leaves. So it's kind of a feel-good and something to know. And you can keep them shorter and bushier around by your tomato plants, because we all know growing basil near tomatoes helps improve their vigor and their flavor. So happy munching, you guys. Enjoy your basil. Hey, it's Candice with Grow Local, and right now we're going to talk about some pots. Different pots for different things, different situations, but it's kind of nice to know what kind of pots you want to use for what you're going to be growing. These are your Terra Cotta pots. They come in a whole lot of different sizes, different styles. Some of them are really pretty and intricate. Some are just really plain Jane. They're really good when you are growing things that don't like to stay wet, because Terra Cotta is clay and it is really, really porous. Downside of these is that if we have a lot of wet weather and cold weather, which we do, you get that expansion, contraction, and they do have a tendency to break. But if it's in a sheltered spot, these things can last you for years. And if you look around, some pot companies have actually started adding certain chemicals to make their Terra Cotta pots more frost proof, which is kind of exciting. They are a little bit on the heavier side, but like I said, they are really good for growing things like your rosemary and your oregano, cactus and succulents, because sometimes you want to have kind of an edible looking garden. These ones are going to be your ceramic. So they're still fairly porous, but they usually have a finish on the outside that holds more of the moisture in, so they have less of a tendency to crack. But again, when you're purchasing them, they will usually say they're frost resistant, not frost proof. So they will last you for several years. If you know that we're going to have a whole lot of rain followed by a cold spell or cold snap, try to keep your heavier pots on caddies, because you should actually move them into a sheltered spot closer to the house or something. Otherwise, you're going to find that expansion and contraction and your pots will crack. But again, you should get years out of these things. Next up, plastic pots. Really good for things that need to retain moisture. They're a lot lighter. So if you're growing on a deck or a balcony and weight's going to be an issue, these are really good. You can find plastic pots now that actually come with a guarantee that they're not going to get brittle and they're not going to sun fade for up to 10 years, which is really kind of nice. And like I said, they are so good for so many things, and they come in so many different colors and styles. These are really a go-to one. Other ones you can get are made out of fiberglass. I don't have those today. But again, they'll last you probably longer than the plastic pots will. And again, they come in a whole bunch of different sizes. The prices on your plastic pots, ceramic pots, and your fiberglass ones are anywhere from inexpensive to, are you kidding? So bear that in mind when you go shopping. Other things you can use are your hanging baskets. This is a coir insert, and you can get these in window boxes and huge, huge ones and really small ones. These guys, this is what they look like when they're new. This is what mine looks like after about 3 years. Still got mud on the bottom. The only time I have really had them get really ratty is when the birds discovered them and wanted to use it for nesting material. And thanks, I'll share. I have no problem with that. And for some of your other hanging baskets, good old moss. If you've got a fairly tight weave on the basket and you've got access to moss, green side out, brown side on the inside, make it a good big fat layer. It really acts as an insulator, keeps the soil in, keeps the moisture in. This one is a felt, and they come in different sizes again. And this one's a little bit too small for this hanging basket, but you'll get the idea. You just pop it in and put your soil in. Again, it holds the moisture beautifully, doesn't allow the soil to all dribble out, and the plants really like it. So there's a couple of different options for you, a couple of different ideas. If you are really on a budget and you've got the frames, but you don't have the money to go out and buy the liners, if you've got old fabric, you can use burlap, you can use flour sacks, you can use old sheets or your kid's old flannel shirt. It doesn't really matter, because all you need is something that's going to not fall apart, hold the soil in, and especially with hanging baskets, your plants are probably going to be cascading over the sides and nobody's going to know what's in there either. So use what you've got, make the most of it, and have fun growing. Hi, it's Candice with Grow Local, and guess what? We're in the kids' corner today. And how many of you kids know how long it takes Mother Nature to make about that much topsoil? Any ideas? Guess what? It's like 500 years. A crazy amount of time to make that much soil. That's good, that's viable, which means it's good for growing in, okay? Do you know how much of the world's surface we get to use for growing all the food that we eat and all the plants that we use for making clothes, like your hemp and your cotton and your flax? Ooh, well, it depends on what site you go to, but it's anywhere from 2% to 6%, which isn't a lot. And if that's hard to imagine, I'm going to show you with this apple. Pretend this is the whole world, okay? This is the world, and I'm going to cut it up here. And I'm going to cut it into 4 pieces. Might not be totally even, but we cut it into 4 pieces. And you know what? I'm going to put 1, 2, 3. Those are gone. Guess what? Those are all the oceans. So this is what we've got left for the world. And I'm going to cut that. And I'm going to take this part away, because that's everything that's too mountainous, too wet, and too cold. So think of swamps and the top of Mount Everest and the Sahara Desert, okay? Now, I've got this piece left, and I have to cut him up. And I'm going to cut him into 4 pieces. And out of those 4 pieces, I have to put 3 away, because those are all the cities and the highways and all the back roads that we take up. So do you see this little piece of apple here? That's how much of the Earth's surface we get for growing on. So that's why we have to take care of what we've got, okay? You don't want to be throwing the paint cans in the middle of the guy's garden. You want to be leaving your junk out where we're supposed to be growing our food. Just be careful, take care of it, and have fun growing. Do you like to have fun growing? Do you want to grow stuff? Did you know you can make little pots on your own? If you have a little pot this size, you can grow a lettuce, you can grow a pansy, and I know pansies are flowers, but did you know that you can put the petals in your salads and eat them and they taste pretty good? There's another lettuce. Ooh, we've got a Swiss chard. It's really pretty. You can get ones that look like rainbow colors. They're reds and yellows and greens, or you can get just the plain reds, or you can even get some that's just plain green. And this is cilantro. Funny thing about cilantro, you guys, you either like it or you don't. And it has to do with your body's chemistry. There's a certain enzyme in your system. And if it doesn't like cilantro, it's going to taste like soap. And if you do love cilantro, you're not going to be able to get enough of it. You're going to go, oh, Mom, can we put that in the salsa again, please, Mom? Please, please. But there, you can grow your own. Another idea over here, who likes blueberries? This is a little blueberry plant that you can get. And you put it in some soil, and you can put cilantro around it, and pansies again. There's more lettuce and Swiss chard in here. And we've even got a kale. If you wanted to, you could make a pot that's got a sunflower in the top. You could grow some peas in a pot with pansies in the front and lettuce on the side. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do, and it doesn't need to be big, you guys. And if you don't have something, you could even just take a bag of soil, lay it flat on the ground, cut out an opening, take it off. You can plant your lettuce. You can plant little fingerling or little ball carrots in it. You could do radishes. You could have lots of fun growing stuff. Bye.